right before I was turning 50 years old. My wife went away on vacation for 2 weeks, and then for those 2 weeks, I saw everything you could ever imagine that was in a scary movie happening in my house. I saw green and red mist pouring out of the walls. I saw skulls floating around with red eyes and fangs, 7-foot skeletons walking around the house. The famed Hat Man appeared in my basement. All these types of things that were happening. And I'd be laying in bed and I'd see this cloud form out of the corner of the room. It would come out of the wall. And one night it would be red, the next one would be blue, green, yellow each night. And then it would be blue with black stripes, red with black stripes. There's all kinds of things happening in my home.
I'd like to welcome to the Journeying Soul, Daniel Jackson. How are
Cool
you
beans.
doing today? How are you doing today, Daniel?
So is it Helena or Helena?
It's Helena.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for asking. Yes, because some
I
people do say Helena, like Helena Bonham Carter, and I'm a Helena.
I figured it was Helena, but I figured I'd just ask.
Yes, it's from my great grandmother. So yes.
Yeah, for me, it's either Daniel or Daniel. I just have a joke.
Easy to
jokes.
remember.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh,
One of
you're
the
welcome.
reasons I wanted to have you on is, I love to talk to people about what their journey is, what their identity is, how it's evolved during their
Sure.
lifetimes. And you have a very interesting background because you didn't become a medium until you were 50.
Correct.
So I would love to hear like how your path evolved. How'd that come about?
Well, I've always seen spirit ever since I was 3 years old. Um, but my whole family was seeing them at that point. We lived in this town in New Jersey, and that town was right on the Delaware River. So there was a battlefield there. This is where the Hessians fought. And so we were seeing spirit, but so were the other families in that area, around the same area, because again, my sister told me about a dig they did there a couple of years ago where they found hundreds of bodies all buried in one place. And of course, it's where a war took place. So this is gonna happen. But we were all seeing them at that point. It wasn't until I was 17 when my parents and I moved to Delaware, and no one else was really seeing them as much as I was. And then it was just happening regularly, where people would always ask me, "How do you get used to that?" Well, it's like when we're kids and our mom and dad feed us green beans, and then 30 years later you like green beans because you get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're either going to get used to it, or you're going to accept it, or you're not going to accept it.
When your family was seeing them, did you all discuss it? I mean, was this like common knowledge among all of you, or were you having these experiences and you were all keeping them to yourselves? How was it in your family?
We all, because we would all experience it together.
Mm-hmm.
Like one time when my two brothers and I were sitting downstairs watching TV, and my sister's record player upstairs, 2 flights up, turned on. So my one brother sent me and my other brother upstairs to turn it off. So again, we knew about it. It was a little frightening, but the crazy part was when it was playing records, it would switch records. So it would take a record off and put another one on. Yeah, so yeah, people always go, "Oh, yeah," because they
Did it have any favorites? Did the spirits have any favorites?
Aerosmith and Led Zeppelin, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, well, my sister was 8 years older than me, so she had a lot of that in her room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these types of things would happen. We would talk about it, but it didn't really scare us so much. It was just it would catch you off guard. But again, I was a little kid, so I was like, "Oh no, something's going to get me." But eventually, my family let me know that nothing bad was happening. So if nothing bad was happening before, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So we did discuss it, but it just became normal, and we just got used to it. But it was just like I said, when I was 17, and we moved, I would still talk about it and no one else would. And I was, why not? Well, I'm not really seeing anything anymore. Well, and I was seeing things all the time. Um, to the point where one time when I was in my early 20s, 22 or 23, I was playing in a rock band. I came home from a gig and I laid down in bed and something laid down next to me. And this happened 3, 4 times. Every time I laid down, something laid down right in the bed. I could feel it and pushed a pillow down. And so I'd turn around and look, and there's nothing there. And then that fifth time when it happened again, whatever was there picked up the blanket that I had on top of me and brought it all the way up to the ceiling, and it shook it above me, and then it dropped it on top of me. And then after that, Helena, I slept on the couch for 2 years because I was scared shitless. But
I was going to ask. That's kind of like an escalation on Spirit's part. So how did you handle that?
yeah,
To the couch.
that was a little frightening at that point. But again, when you see these types of things all the time, when you experience these things all the time, you just get used to it. You just chalk it up to it just being another experience.
It depends on how it goes. You know, a friend of our family, she became widowed. Oh gosh, I'm going to say this is over 10 years ago. And she reported, and this is a different than your experience, but she had a feeling one night that she felt her husband like in the bed, like that depression feeling, like you were saying, that something was next to her. And that's a comforting feeling. He didn't touch any, blankets or anything, but different.
If you want the confirmation of that, it was him.
Yeah.
So I have that kind of connection with them. All you have to do is talk about one particular person, and because of who my spirit guides are, they are connected to everyone and everything. All you have to do is say something, and I could get you. I could get a no for you or a yes for you, but that was actually her husband that was there. Um, I don't know if she knows this or not, but he's still there.
I would hope so, frankly. Yeah.
Well, you would hope so for the reason that we all think that everyone crosses over into heaven, and that's just not the case. It's not. Not everything does go to what we would call heaven. There are a lot of what we would call earthbound spirits, and they just chose not to go in. That's all.
Yeah, that I understand that that's in a way your specialty, the earthbound spirits.
Yeah, that's part of my specialty, but my big specialty is I get answers for people, and I help them to get some peace of mind, some clarity, but I give them direction. I'm not here to do rainbows and unicorns and everything is love and light, because life is not like that. And everyone who wants you to believe that, they're lying to you, because they know that life is not like that, but they just want you to think about the brighter side. Well, life is not always bright. It can be, but you have to make choices in order for that to happen. And those choices are tough for some people.
Yeah, I think, yes, I understand what you're saying. I mean, I do think it's like, look at the lives we're all living here on
Right.
Earth in this incarnation, however it is, it's got both. So, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I was having those kinds of experiences, and then it was out throughout my entire life. I was having experiences all the time, and it was daily. So it wasn't like once here, maybe a couple of months later. It was daily. But it right before I was turning 50 years old, my wife went away on vacation for 2 weeks, and then for those 2 weeks, I saw everything you could ever imagine that was in a scary movie happening in my house. I saw green and red mist pouring out of the walls. I saw skulls floating around with red eyes and fangs, 7-foot skeletons walking around the house. The named Hat Man appeared in my basement. All these types of things that were happening. And I'd be laying in bed and I'd see this cloud form out of the corner of the room. It would come out of the wall. And one night it would be red, the next one would be blue, green, yellow each night. And then it would be blue with black stripes, red with black stripes. There's all kinds of things happening in my home at
What
that
did
point.
you do? I mean, this is like a different thing than what you were used to. What did you do? Did you call your wife? Did you call a friend? Did you like seek out anybody, or were you just toughing it out?
Not at that point. Not until she got home. She got home, and I mean, what do you do if you're standing there and an airplane flies over your head? What do you actually do? You look at it, you observe it, but can you absolutely do anything about it? No. There's nothing I could really do about it at that moment, so I just let whatever was going to happen, happened.
So you weren't afraid then? You weren't too
No,
afraid to go to sleep? You were able
no,
to
I felt a presence there that not that I was not going to be harmed. Um, I just felt as though I was being shown this, but I was being shown this for a reason. Um, so yeah, my wife came home from vacation. She told me about her adventures, and then I told her about mine. And that freaked her out a little bit. But her and we've talked about this stuff before, again, because everything happening to me throughout my life. We thought, well, we'll just seek out some help, and we did. I found a paranormal group to come to my house. They got so
Now,
much information from my house. Actually, when they left my house and got on my front lawn, they quit and never came back again.
oh my goodness. What state were you living in at that point? Because you said you grew up in New Jersey. Were you still in Jersey or
No, we were in the southern part of Delaware. They call it Lower Delaware. They call it slower Lower Delaware. It's kind of funny because everybody down there is not easily motivated. But yeah, this is the lower part of Delaware.
So you found a paranormal group there? They're everywhere. So I guess
Yeah, they are everywhere. This one, there was a one girl who was taking pictures, a guy who was filming everything, another guy who was just asking questions, and then there was one other gentleman there who was the leader of the group, and he would direct everybody on what to do. And they had all kinds of equipment. They had these little boxes that had little lights and wires sticking off of them, and they had something called an obulus. It's a spirit box. They used all that. They had a video camera, and that one girl she was taking the digital photos. Every time she took a photo of me or me with someone else, there was 15 or 20 light orbs completely surrounding me. When she took a picture of someone else by themselves, there was nothing. Um, they used that spirit box where they had me go into my bedroom and pretend that I was sleeping, lay in bed. This is all at nighttime. And then they came in and turned on the box. And when they did, as soon as they turned it on, it started spitting out words. It said Wendy, Michael, Paul, Helen, unique, special, energy, light. One time it even said the word road, like a street. It said road. And when it did that, a car went past my house. And I was just laying there like, okay, that was different. And it's when they started asking questions. And they asked questions for 10 minutes. They timed it. And every time they asked a question, it answered. There was no pause, anything. It answered. And it answered in complete sentences. One of the questions they asked, they said, "Are you here to harm Daniel?" And then in
good
that
question.
yeah, and that computer voice that came out, it said, "No, we are not here to harm Daniel. We love Daniel. We love Daniel's light. Daniel is the light." When it said Daniel is the light, I was like, what is that supposed to mean? But this went on for about 10 minutes, and then when it finished, they left the room. I went out of the room. They were all huddled up. I said to my wife, "What's going on?" She's like, "I don't know, something pretty serious." So guy turns around, and I was excited at that moment because there were other people there who were witnessing what my wife and I had been going through for a few
Yeah,
months.
you finally could share it with other people, even if they fled the scene later.
Yeah, well, yeah, I said, "So, hey, did you guys get all that? I mean, you heard all that?" And they were like, "Well, yeah, we heard it, Mr. Jackson, but there's an issue." And I was like, "What kind of issue?" It didn't sound bad. He said, "Well, whenever we use that box, we can get it to spit out a word or two, but it never says sentences,
Mhm,
and not for 10 minutes." He
mhm.
said, "That was an intelligent conversation we were having in there." I said, "But it wasn't bad." He said, "No, well, we just have to figure it out." I mean, we even when we were in the bedroom, the video guy said, "Let's go into the closet," because there's a walk-in closet. I said, "Okay." And so I walked in, he walked in with after me, and he wasn't even in there 5 seconds. He's like, "Oh my god, I'm getting sick, I'm getting sick." So he runs out, and I have him sit on the bed, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, can we go back in?" I said, "Sure." We go back in. It happens again, and he runs out. I said, "Are you sure you're okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm okay, but how come you're not getting sick?" I said, "I don't know. That's why you're here. You're the expert. You're supposed to be telling me." But it was at that point at the end of the night they said they would come back for a big reveal 2 weeks later. And it took me 6 weeks to get a hold of them. And I said, so are you coming back? And he said, no, I can't get the team back together. Once we got on your front lawn, they all quit. I said, why? He said, well, usually when we do an investigation like this, it takes 10 or 15 homes to get all that kind of information. We don't get that from just one home. He said, they're too scared to come back in your house. I said, can you come back and explain this? And he said, no, I just don't feel comfortable coming back in there. So,
yeah, some of your story reminds me of that movie that I saw. I mean, it's you and I are probably about the same age. I'm in my mid 50s, and
I'm 57. No,
yeah, I'm 56.
Yeah, I'm not embarrassed to talk
And
about that. You know?
but it reminds me of the movie Poltergeist in a way where they bring in, the family. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but the family,
Yes,
is there. Nobody just disappeared into the TV in your in your life, but
go into the light, Carolyn. Go into the light. Yeah, yeah.
But the crew comes to the house, but not everybody in the crew stays the duration.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
It was exactly like that. Exactly like that, to the point where the people who were living around my house had no clue that they were living next to a poltergeist house, and that's the truth. And it just, I mean, but people knew about me because I would tell stories to people and stuff like that, but they didn't know the true extent of everything. But yeah, it's exactly like that.
So how did it work? Shifting gears a little bit. So when you sort of came out as a medium, your wife knew.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was like.
That's I know that. Like I said, that's what's interesting to me about a lot of people's spiritual journey is this. As you evolve, how do you let people know around you that you've evolved? Your identity's changed, your abilities have changed, how you look at the world has changed. So how did that work with your friends, your family, when you really started to become more trained, I guess is what I would say.
They all took it differently. I lost a lot of friends. But were they really my friends? I mean, your friends will accept you for everything and anything. They should. If they are your true friends, and if they're not, well, then they're not really your true friends, and they have another agenda. But so yeah, I lost a lot of friends. My family understands what I do. Um, do they talk about it a lot? They really don't. My sister would come to me for answers sometimes, but also would fall back on religion at the same time. So she was what would I call 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But they understand what I do, but it's not a huge topic of discussion. It's only a topic of discussion for the people that I help every day. But I don't, it's not like I walk into talking to my family or my friends and feel like uneasy about anything. I just go out and be me every single day. And I don't apologize to anyone for me being me, because if I say something that's going to offend you, uh, I really don't care, because I know you'll walk away and I don't have to deal with you ever again. But just saying. But I have to be me. I have to be happy being me, and I talk about this subject a lot with people. Um, and if they're okay with it, great. If they're not okay with it, then I won't speak about it again with those particular ones. But I feel comfortable being in my skin, and I have to be in order to be this. And as long as I know I'm helping people, then I know I'm doing the right thing. But yeah, whether they feel good or bad about it is up to them. It's up to each and every individual person. That's up to them and their perception of life. Again, if they want to talk about it, they will approach me. If they don't want to talk about it, uh, there's much more other things in life that I can talk about as well. I ride motorcycles, so I talk to my motorcycle friends, again, everyone I know knows I do this. They all do. They're either
And
comfortable with it or not.
and from what I understand too, you train people too. Yes, you help other people who are developing their skills.
In a sense, I do. I help them to to develop it somewhat, but I'm not what you would call a mentor. I don't mentor. I don't have time for that. I have other friends that I know who are skilled enough and able to do that. But I do help those who have a different kind of ability to move forward with them. Uh, the ability, in the same way, what I do is what I work with archangels. They're not men with wings and shields and swords by any means. Um, and if they have this ability, I help them to understand what it will take in order to be what I'm doing. I've had this conversation with 24 people. One of them moved forward with it because once they find out what the actual commitment is, what it takes, what happens to you, uh, your your whole life will take a 360 change. You will get rid of all the things that are unimportant in your life and know that whenever the occasion comes up that I have to do this, this comes first. And I mean that where if my wife had booked a vacation for us to go somewhere and then I had to go do this, she would be going on that vacation by herself because essentially I work for God. And if he directs me in a way to do something that's going to help or educate others, that's what I do. I take this very seriously. And those who are moving forward or have the ability to move forward into the position I am in, they would have to take it that serious too. And most of them just can't. And I understand that because it is hard. I mean, when I was first having this come on for me, one of the things that was happening was I was being touched by archangels in order for so they could work on my soul, so I could see them, hear them, feel them, communicate with them better. It's not like the TV show. It's the very beginning stages of that is very uncomfortable to the point where when I would get those cold touches and I feel them all over my body, the very next day I would be in the bathroom and it would be coming out of both ends. And that would happen for 3 or 4 hours. And
Wow, so
then
it made you physically ill.
yes, because the body, as they tell me, the human body is very fragile. And because they're changing my
Yes.
soul so that I could communicate with them, that would affect my body. And this would go on for this would happen for 2 or 3 hours, and then it would take me a few days to regain my energy back from that. And then, after about 2 weeks, it would happen again. This went on twice a month for 3 years. That's the type of commitment that you're making, and you have to be okay with it. I don't just see people. I see people, dogs, cats, horses, cows, fish. I see other beings from other worlds. I see into what we would call heaven and this earthbound realm or this low energy realm. I see all that. I see things that people don't want to see. And I see all the horrible energies too, and them doing things that no one wants to see. But I see that because in order to do what I do and have the connection I have to be able to see everything. I'm not opening up a can of chicken noodle soup. I've opened up the worst can of worms you could ever have. And with that, I have to be able to use this ability to help other people. The things that I get and the things that happen to me and the things that I see and feel and hear, that's about, you know, me helping people is about 20% compared to the other 80% that's going on with me every single day. But it's worth that because I get to help people. I get to help them to understand why they're here and what their purpose is. And that's
Mhm.
more important than anything else.
So in sort of classical, like, the clairs, clairaudience, clairsentience, da da da, you seem to have all of them,
I
yes?
have
Because
everything.
you have everything.
I
Uh,
have everything because of a specific thing that is with me that no other medium has. No other medium has it because it only needs to be one. Is in the same way, there only needed to be one Jesus and there is only one God. I just have this because it's always been me. I just was unaware of it this lifetime, but from what archangels tell me, it's been with every lifetime with me. I was chosen for this. I was asked to do this and a very long time ago, and I just continue to do it. Part of it is I don't have control over it, but the other part I help with it to help everyone else. But yeah,
well,
I
that was the
just
thing I did want to ask you because you were saying, 80% of the time you've got your stuff going on, and then the other 20% is helping people.
yeah.
So it sounds like your abilities don't have that off switch. Like there are many mediums and also psychics who say, that they know how to sort of tune it down. So,
Well, you're paying
like,
attention, lady. No,
so
I don't have an off switch. But
is
the
that
part
something you want to develop or are you just fine with however it is? Like, would
Uh,
you, if
I'm
you could close that door that 80% of the time, would you?
no,
No. Okay.
no. I know that
Fair
it's not.
play.
I know it's not meant to be closed, nor that part of it. I can't close it. I know I can't close it because it's something no one else has. It just and
Well, I,
it has to be open all the time.
I only asked Daniel because, even where you are now, you two are on a journey and your spirit and your abilities can evolve more or in a different direction. You weren't always this way.
No, no, it
Things could
wasn't.
happen. That's all I'm
Uh,
offering.
yeah, and they have evolved in other ways where there's other things that I do that I don't do with people. I can't because if I explained everything, it would probably scare the crap out of them. That's the kind of things that I see. I mean, so I'll go into it. Um, when you pass away, your body you'll stand up out of your body. You'll take a step to the left. You'll look to the right. You'll look down your body and go, I don't need that anymore. Everybody
Mhm.
does. And then you'll take a step to the left. You look to the right, and you see a light that turns on for you. That's your personal light. Everyone gets one, and this is what we would call the light into heaven. Everyone gets one, and you have a choice to make at that point. As you have choices to make throughout your entire life for everything, because no one else can do that for you. You're ultimately making all your choices. So you're either going to walk into that light or you're not. It's that simple. And if you walk in, great. If you don't walk in, whatever. It's okay. Not everything here in this low energy realm is horrible. I see dogs and cats and horses and cows walking around. I see them grazing all the time because that's what they did before they passed away. My wife explained because they talk about the Rainbow Bridge. It's a poem that expresses how the peace and all that they will feel. Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, they are okay where they are, but the place where they are is a very low energy place sometimes for some people. As many spirits that do cross over into heaven, there's that many that don't. And I see everything. And they're just walking around. There's nothing there except each other. That is all that is there. But where you go is your choice. No one else can decide that choice for you or decide where you're going to go. They have no power over you to do that.
When people, the earth, I guess I'm going to say earthbound spirits using
Sure.
like, oh, okay. Um, do the earthbound spirits have, do you know if they have experiences similar to what we hear from a lot of people who've had near death experiences? Like there's often like the life review and then they're given a choice.
You only get the life review if you've crossed over.
Okay, because the people who have NDEs have not, that they don't fully cross over, but they do have a little bit of a review supposedly, and then they're given that choice. So
They are not given a choice. They
they're not
think they're
given.
given no. They NDE people don't even know why they had the experience that brought them to the NDE. If you've ever noticed that, they only talk about, well, I got into a car accident and I was in the hospital, and then the next thing you know, I was up out of my body. They don't even realize why they got into the car accident. They have no clue, and they never talk about it. They don't talk about it because they don't understand it enough. It's only their human selves that are trying to make, sense of everything. The reason they have that accident that brought them to that place or anything else that happened to them is because, quite frankly, God was trying to give them a message and they couldn't slow their lives down enough to get it. Now, if you wanted to slow someone down, what do? You would if they were walking down the street just aimlessly looking down, going tunnel vision. I'm going down the street. How could you get someone to stop? Well, you stand right in front of them. You make them stop. He made them stop, and then he gave them an understanding of what life really is, and wanted to see if they were going to. I mean, I'm sure there are lots of other NDE people who just don't say anything because that experience itself. Maybe figured it out to say it, and maybe they didn't because they were too afraid of it,
Mhm.
because it woke them up so much. So, yeah, the NDE people, yeah, they just I just spoke to a lady a couple of months ago who does research on NDE people, and
Mm.
I said the same exact thing to her, and she was like, "You're right. None of them have ever said that. They don't because they themselves just don't get it. God wants you to figure things out. I mean, there's a term that says, God bless you. Well, He did. He wants us to figure out the rest, and we don't seem to figure out the rest because we can't get there because we have too many things going on that we feel as though we need 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats, and we need to work, 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 and we need to have all this jewelry and fast cars and everything like that. And that's what's important in this life. It's not important in this life. We base our whole system, our monetary system, on rocks and paper. You know what those rocks and paper are? Gold and dollar bills. Or diamonds. We base our system on that. But the true value of that stuff has no value unless it's in your hands. So what does that mean? The true value in this world is us. Everything else is just stuff. And we can't get past that stuff in order to find out where the true value is. We don't take the time to do it.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, the thing about money and or rocks and paper is that they're human constructs. I mean, this is
Correct.
currency that we invented. It's not.
Right.
It's just our way of shifting value and assigning value.
Right, because the
creating
true
the
value
exchange.
before that was us, and if I could help you do something, if you could help me do something, and we could call it a day, that's the way the true value used to be. But, we have people who came into this world who wanted to have control and power over other people. We call them kings and queens, and now we call them government or what have you. But they invoke their power over you. But the only reason they invoke it over you is because you allow it to happen. Stop allowing it. It's that simple.
The illusions of this world, Daniel, they're so seductive.
They are seductive, and they make it seductive so that you'll fall into that trap. But anyway, so you either walk into the light or you don't, and you remain here as an earthbound spirit. But you could cross over at any time that you want to. And yes, you would go if you go into the light, you will not go to what we would call heaven right away. You will go into a holding place, and they will go over your life with you, and they tell you what you did and did not do. And then at that point, they will let you know if you have to come back again. The reason you come back again is not for punishment. I mean, God doesn't need to punish us. We punish ourselves 1,000 times a day. Why would He need to do it once more? He doesn't. Same
So
thing with
why do people come
judgment.
back?
You come back because you have not fulfilled your purpose. And your purpose is not becoming a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher or even a podcaster. Your purpose is we are here to help each other just for the sake of helping, not because you can, but because you should, in a way where you're going to help someone to do something they can just not do, or you're helping them to figure it out, or you're helping in a sense of God's creation where you're driving down the street and you see a cat in the middle of the road and you pull over and you help the cat and maybe bring it to its owner or a vet or find some way to help it. Or you just look at the cat and go, I'm not going to help that cat because I'm late for work and I got to get there and I don't care about it. If you're late for work, you know what you do? Get up earlier.
That's beautiful, though, Daniel. I just want to repeat that again. That it's like the purpose is to help people just because.
Just because, for the reason of just because.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we're here to do.
That's beautiful.
But we don't do that, and that's what He wants us to do. That's what He wants us to do is help each other. We could share everything in the world because there's enough of everything in the world to share. Everyone could still go to work, but just to have what we need. But we don't have to pay for it. We could just do it. I mean, we could get to a point where I have a Porsche and you have a Porsche and everybody else has a Porsche. And then we all put all the cool little doodads on the Porsche to make it look cool. And then once we see that everybody has the same of everything, then all your wants and needs will change at that point. And you will not feel as though you need everything to prove a point to someone else, because that's what we do it for. We're trying to prove a point to someone else that I'm better than you, or I have more than you, or look how cool I am more than you. No, because we all come from the same family, the soul family. I mean, what do you have in common with the other 7.5 billion people? They've all been to heaven. They've all had to come back, just like you. What does that make us all? Equal. That's what we need to get back to. That's what we need to understand, but we're just not doing a very good job of that. I mean, we're pointing rockets at each other right now. You think that's really necessary?
I think this is, I'm just going to say what I think for a moment. So, one of the things I've observed in my time here is that it's very difficult sometimes to be like in like a spirit incarnate in a body, just
Sure,
from the point of view of like, we need to eat, we need to sleep, the body
sure,
needs to be rested. And then the other thing that comes into play is this identity.
correct.
We form this identity, and then that's where, it's my identity, your identity. It's
Absolutely.
the separateness. And that's where, and then everything spirals from there. But it seems to be built into the fabric of being a human being, though. I mean,
Sure,
it's,
well, you have a point when one of those points is when we first started talking to each other. "What's your name?" "Elena." "What's my name?" "Daniel." Identity.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We all wanna be our own separate identity when we're really not, because we're all the same, we're all equal, we all have a soul inside of us, and that soul came from one place. It didn't come from here. We need to get back to that understanding, because if you were not meant to be here, you wouldn't be, and if he didn't want you here, he'd take you out.
Well,
You have no c
I hope it
have
would be a little bit more gentle than taking me out, but I get your
well, he
point.
does. He does. It's called what we call death. It happens when it's supposed to. Not a matter of if, just a matter of when. I mean, some of us are here for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, 50 years. You're here for as long as you're meant to be here. That's it, and you have no choice whether or not you're going to stay. A doctor can fix your bones, but he cannot keep your soul from going home. He just can't. There's 2 rules in this world. As long as you listen to them and you follow them, you comprehend them, you'll appreciate your life and everyone else's life around you. Rule number 1 is people die every day. Rule number 2 is you can't change rule number 1. When it's your time to go, it just is. No one dies too soon, no one dies too young, no one dies tragically, no one dies unexpectedly, no one dies untimely. Everyone just dies. You just do. 130,000 people die every day. You're just waiting your turn. It's what you do from the time that you wake up in this world in a baby body going, "What?" And your mom and dad going, "I'm your mom and dad." And you're going, "I don't know who the heck you are, but okay." And then they raise you from that point until you don't go and you leave. But you'll continue on. You just won't do it in this physical body anymore, this meat suit. It's how
Yeah.
you're gonna make your mark. Don't let the little dash on that little tombstone decide what your mark is on this life. You be the marker, not the tombstone. But people need to they don't see that. They can't get past all the, amenities in this world,
Yeah.
or they
I,
can.
I did want to follow up on just a couple things I wanted to ask too. So
Yeah,
the spirits that do not go into the light,
yeah.
is there a reason that they don't? Is it they're lost? Is it that they don't want to? Do you have any information on that?
Sure, it's their choice. You either walk into the light or you don't. It's that simple. We have things that are brought to us all the time that could keep us from going in. Unlike, a bunch of people who the people who wanna tell you how to live your life the way they want you to live it and give them 10%, telling you that you're not good enough to do it, or God is gonna judge you, or the things that you did is going to cause you to go to a really bad place. Well, there is no really bad place. Now, that lower energy place isn't the best place, but it's not, everyone's walking around burning on fire because you're now pure energy. Pure energy doesn't burn, okay? And so they want you to think you're taking your body with you, but everybody knows that doesn't happen. But God is not going to punish you for something He gave you. He gave you free will, and He gave you free will to make the choices that you need in order to go through your life. Now, God being that omnipotent being, knowing everything, knowing all, don't you think if He thought we were going to make some bad choices, He would have put a limit on that choice? But He didn't. He didn't because He knows you need to find out how your life is going to work for you. So why would He punish you for that? For something He gave you? Free will. He doesn't. Neither God nor Jesus feel you need to prove yourself to anyone. Only people say you do. God gave me my worth, not people. And if you're going to go against me and my worth, well, you're going against God. Good luck with that. It's not going to work out very well for you.
So I got to ask you, Daniel, so what is God? I mean,
God,
this is one of the questions I ask. It's actually part of my final questions, but I did want to skip ahead and ask it now.
God is our creator. He is love. That's what God is. God, he's not a fearful God yet or a merciful God. He is neither. He's a loving God. He's your father. He is our creator. And he created everything. But he put us into this place in order for us to figure out the rest. He's not going to hold your hand for everything. He's not going to tell you to ask for something and you shall receive. No. You're going to have to work for it. Life is not easy. It's not meant to be easy. If it was meant to be easy, what would be the point of living? If you were given everything in your lifetime, you wouldn't appreciate the things that you do have. He wants us to do like any other parent wants us to do. Learn. I mean, people walk around thinking, oh, I have a guardian angel following me around. No, you don't. If you had a guardian angel following you around, guarding you from everything in your life, as only you want them to guard for specific things, but if you were guarding you from everything in your life, what would you learn? Nothing. You don't have guardian angels. People don't have angels following them around, helping them with everything in their lives. We have spirit guides to do that, but you don't have angels. Angels and what I have, archangels, are for big picture things. You don't need an angel to go get a cup of freaking coffee. You better wake up. You don't need an angel to go help you take 1,000 selfies and post it on social media all day long. If you're doing that, you have a self-esteem problem. Go get that fixed. Wake up. You have a life to live here, and you have a life to figure out what's really going on, what's helping you to understand what the real true value in this world is. Not your car, not your motorcycle, not your house, not the gold chain around your neck. You. That's where the true value is. He wants us to learn to take care of each other, to share everything in the world, to take care of everything so that no one has any worry and no one has any struggle. Yet we have not figured that out yet. Why haven't we? Because we relinquished the power a long time ago to these other people who have control over us. We need to take that power back. We just haven't yet because we have let them fear us into thinking we can't do it. We've let them fear us into thinking that they take care of everything. What do they really take care of? You give them money all the time. I mean, what was it, 4th of July? We celebrated that holiday of walking away from a tyrannical government to come over here and start our own tyrannical government. What are we actually doing? And what do they actually do for us? Except take our money and use it for things to help themselves. That's what they do. They tell you one day to eat bacon. They tell you the next day not eat bacon. You know what they need to do? They need to shut the hell up. But we need to stop listening.
What do you make of that then, the government? Because the government is made up of human beings like you and me who have been
Who like power and control.
okay.
They tell us they're doing all this stuff for us, but what are they really doing? They're helping themselves. That's why they have $200,000 jobs and they're all millionaires. And we have what? Crumbs? And we people say, "Oh, I don't live by the laws." Well, you drive a car. Are you doing 55 miles an hour like the sign says? And if you don't like it and you do everything else that they don't want you to do, where do you end up? Prison. They keep you where they can keep an eye on you. They're keeping us all in a place where they keep an eye on us, under their thumb. Until we break away from that, nothing's ever going to change. But why is it all happening? Why do you have negative people in your life? But why does anybody have negative people or negative instances? Because they allow it to happen. Stop allowing it. It's that simple. You got the red side and the blue side, and I hate you and we hate you, and no matter who gets into what office, they're still going to hate each other for the next 4 years or next millennium because we allow it to happen. I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to any of that stuff because I just choose not to. I choose not to get angry over someone else's anger of anything or even anger of me because I don't follow. I'm not a follower. I'm not going to sit there and be a follower. I had a lady come up to me one time and she said, "Are you speaking to spirit?" I was out doing readings at the mall and I said, "Yes." She said, "So you're communicating with spirit?" I said, "Yes, I am." And then she said, "You're speaking to the devil." And I said, yeah, in the middle of the mall, and I'm doing all these readings and all these people around. I said, "No, I'm not speaking to the devil because there is no such thing as a devil. It's a made up character that they want to have so they can have power and control over you because, they got to have a warden of the prison. So, no. There's no such place as hell. There's no such place as purgatory. And as I'm going through this, I'm going through it in this voice. And the only thing she could do is get more angry. And she stomped her feet and walked away. And then I turned around and said, "Okay, who's next?" Because I don't have to let it bother me.
Yeah.
I don't have to retaliate.
That brings me to something I did want to ask you about. When people are uh, journeying into developing their spiritual connection to their spirit guides, or you're not saying you're saying they don't have guardian angels, but they're spirit guides.
They do.
What are their what should they look for as parameters of verification? There's a thing that I question myself about that I think is what's coming from my brain or my wish or my heart's desire and what's real. So,
Well,
a woman
doesn't
comes up
come
to
from
you
your
and
brain, that's for sure, because nothing comes from your brain. The only thing your brain does is make the little parts work. Everything
well,
that makes up who you are, your
mhm.
desire, your hopes and dreams, everything within you, I mean, to doing anything, that comes from your soul.
Well, I'm just saying my thoughts, they
Sure,
do and in Buddhism, it's kind of like a monkey mind that little thought machine's going all the time. So you can't believe everything your brain tells you. So this woman in the mall who says you're doing the work of the devil, like what's the parameter for somebody knowing if they are having real connection or if it's just a bad belief or something that they're just generating on their own? Like, what would you
well, they don't
it
generate anything on their own because everything you know in this world, you've been taught. Everything. Again, you wake up in a baby body, you don't know anything. You
Mhm.
get taught everything. And it's up to you to decide what you've been taught you feel is the truth or you don't feel is the truth. That's up to you. Again, it comes to choice with everything.
So it's just a decision that you get to decide, is this true? Is this not true?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you
Okay.
have to have in it what we would all call faith. I'm gonna prove to you some faith. Ready? I want you to take your two hands and put your two hands together like a cup and hold that
Mhm.
cup.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, cup them together. Now
Mhm.
look inside of that cup and show me pain or grief or anger or sorrow. Do you actually see it in your hands?
No.
No, but you sure do make a heck of a lot of decisions based on it all day long.
Mhm.
You can't see it, but you should still do it because you feel it.
Yeah. Well,
What's the difference?
I was just asking if there's any, I guess, objective standard, if it's just
No,
all what
because
we
it comes to your
it's so
perception.
it's all subjective.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all subjective until you make a choice to actually do it or not do it.
Okay.
What you're going to make choices for is going to be totally different from what I make choices from because you have a different perspective or outlook on life than I do. But we all do. But just because they're what's good for you doesn't mean it is good for someone else. They have to decide for themselves. In the same way that if you and I were best buddies and you came to me and you said, "Daniel, I'm having a problem. I think I'm drinking too much. I'm having too much to drink, and it's causing some issues in my life."
That's
And
so
I
not me, but go
right.
on.
And I would say to you, Helena, you know what? I'll take you to classes. I'll take you to AA. I'll keep you away from drugs and alcohol. I'll keep you away from all the bars and all that. Although, who doesn't like a good strip club? I get it, but whatever. But I'll keep you away from all that stuff. But until you choose to stop drinking, no matter what I say or do, it isn't going to make a difference. Everything you do in your life is going to be your choice, and you have to choose what's best for you. But you do have these spirit guides who come in. You get these feelings, you get things, and sometimes you walk around and you go, "I don't feel right about this." Where the hell do you think that's coming from? It's coming from your soul. It's
Yeah,
that
that I did
internal
wanna ask you
compass.
about how that information comes through. I just had an experience with that this morning, like something that it was actually another interview that I when I started delving into the research, I'm like, oh, this is not a good idea. And it just wasn't sitting right with me. And I was like,
Right.
maybe there's a way that this will fall apart. And it did. But I sort of had the guidance about it about a week ago when,
Because you followed through with that thought, and that's why it fell apart. It could have went the other way. You could have said, I'll forget it. I'll just do it. But
I
it
mean,
did.
I would have kept my
You listened to
commitment.
it.
That is true, but I was glad it got canceled on the other end. Yeah.
Because you listened, trusted, and followed through with what that feeling was. And that feeling is that gut feeling, that thing we call intuition. That is your soul. That is trying to guide you through your life. And if you ever notice, if you get those good feelings, it says, I feel really good about this, and you do it, and it turns out great. Why? Because you just listen to your soul. But a lot of people don't listen to the soul, as in the way that I tell people, you're driving down the street in a car and you see a car in front of you and you say, I'm going to pass that car. Then you get the gut feeling says, don't pass the car. And you go, oh, okay, I'm not going to pass the car. But you get some people who just talk themselves out of it. Why? Because the world taught them to not have any trust or faith within themselves, and they can do whatever they want.
There's actually, you touch upon something that, there's actually good science about that, whether you want to call it soul or just an intuitive ability, that there are things that our brain and our body, our gut, because they call that sometimes the little brain, picks up on earlier than like we're aware of it. That gives you that feeling, like it comes across as the feeling first of like,
sure,
no, don't go that way. But
sure.
it's sometimes ahead of the curve of, they've even done this in psychic studies where, some people can anticipate, like groups can anticipate things before they happen, but they're not even aware that they anticipated it. It just show up when they've got the sensors on their body,
Well, we say the word intuitive or intuition. What's the first two letters of intuition or intuitive? In.
Yeah.
Inside of you.
Yeah.
Right. It's that feeling inside of you. We always think, oh, I got this gut feeling, or I feel as though, or there's something's telling me. What do you think that something is telling me? It's that something is your soul. It's telling you. It's been here so many times. It's had so many experiences before this lifetime. It knows things. And it's trying to guide you to this one. So what you need to learn to do for this one is listen, trust, and follow through. Everything. But people have a hard time doing that because the world wants to tell them, don't worry, just bring your ego into it and you can change that and do whatever you want. 9 times out of 10, does it ever turn out good? No, usually doesn't.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you to know that you have a power inside of you that could guide you through the world. And what would you not need at that point? You wouldn't need they telling you how to do it. Stop listening to they. Start listening to yourself. That's true.
I have to say, Danielle, I do have sort of mixed feelings about that as advice, only because some of the they is the they that we're connected to, that we're here to, that we should help just because, right? And then there's another oppressive sort of they, like the system of holding up your identity and, maintaining things. But at the same point, like as I said, our bodies, like, what do? We're incarnate. We do need to feed them. We do need like shelter, fire, air, water, and there's a fifth thing you need, food. To maintain the incarnation. Right. So it just seems so difficult to sort out.
Again, that's what the part of life that he wants us to figure out, that we could actually work together. We could share everything together. I could come to you because you're a farmer and you could supply me food, but I'm also a doctor and I can help heal your wounds. And then we could exchange and then call it a day. That's it. I don't have to do it because I'm trying to get a brand new BMW.
Right.
And that's where people get the lines mixed up.
Yeah.
That's where the lines become crossed. They can't see the actual value. They want to enhance that value with their own wants and needs, because they think they need something more than you need it. That's not a true barter there, I don't believe.
Yeah.
We need to get back to the real bartering, which is
it's
getting
about
back to the value.
Yeah, it's about actually having an exchange with people, not just throwing the currency on the table and exchanging through that. I bought this, I bought that. It's more intimate.
Right. It's more intimate. And you always know the more intimate things feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let me get back to my original story. You will stand up out of your body, look to the left, look to the right, and you'll see a light that turns on for you, and that's your personal light. Everyone gets a personal light. But there's always one other light that shines all the time for all these other souls that have not crossed over to cross over. That is the light into heaven. And that light is an actual soul that is here in this physical world. It has to be here all the time. So when you go home, you will leave your body and you'll go home, and then you'll come back through. You'll come back into another body if you have to. Let me ask real quick. So you've been here 28 times. So the way that that works for me, I get touched on my face. This is yes. Across my forehead, and it feels like a tear running down my face, and that's no. And I asked how many times you've been here. They told me 28, so they put the thought in my mind. And then I asked them, "Did you just say 28?" And then they touch me on my face, and it happens like that.
Yeah, but
Why does it?
Daniel, my question is how many more?
Uh, how many more is up to you, because if you don't fulfill your purpose, that's why you'll come back again. But if you do, we do fulfill our purpose throughout our lives, but not as much as he would like us to do. He wants us to learn, but again, life gets in the way. Why does it get in the way? Because we allow it to get in the way. Some people will choose to go out and help a whole bunch of people, and some people just don't. And you didn't learn very well if you didn't. So you'll just come back again. Because no one lives to be 150 years old. Besides, at that point, it's going to hurt to pee, and who wants to be here for that? So, but he knows he can bring us back again. And but the only way you'll come back is if you go into that light. If you stay here, earthbound spirit, you may never come back until you choose to actually go through that light. And that light is, again, that light that they are crossing through that light is always here. It has to always be here to shine so they all can see it. But with spirit, they are pure energy. They can tune us out. We can talk and talk and talk, but they're pure energy. They can tune all that out because it becomes like static, like when we were kids. You know, it was you turn on the TV at 2 o'clock in the morning, it was all that snow and all that. So, and it's static to them. They can tune it all out. But with this one soul that is here, they have to be able to hear it. They have to be able to see that light, and they have to be able to hear it to know where to go. This is a beacon of light for them, a guiding light for them to know where they can go, and then they can cross over, as some of them did just by seeing the light and decided to going over. Maybe they just made a choice for them that they thought they needed that moment, but felt as though later on that this was not the right choice to make. So they want to go. So they have to know where to go. And they can see that light and they can hear that light because it is talking. It is a human body. Because you've been here 28 times. So you've been here many, many times. You've been here a long time. So anyone who says, "Oh, I'm an old soul," they're an old soul. Everybody's an old soul. You've all been here a bunch of times. The average is between 26 and 29 times. But this soul has been here since the beginning of time. And this soul doesn't go home. When that soul is in that body and that body terminates, another body is automatically born, so it can go into it automatically, so it can stay here and be here all the time, because God asked his children a long time ago for someone to stand forward, to be a volunteer, to be this light. He asked his archangels to step forward, and one of them stepped forward and said, "I'll do it, Dad," and then came over and stayed here as the light. And that living, breathing, walking, talking person who has that soul in it is me.
So what happens when
That's why I see everything and I can't turn it off.
but what happens like what happened like what was going on then? What happened the first 50 years of your life though when you weren't active, let's say? And
Just being here, my soul has to be here so they can all cross over at any time. It's no different than the first 50 years of your life. You're just living it. I'm just living it. I just have to keep living it over and over and over and over and over again so that that light can stay here. To be that option for those souls who want to cross over, who need to cross over, or feel they have to cross over, or just want to go home, because that's home. This is not home. What we would call heaven is home. Those other souls are just wandering now. There's nowhere to wander to. I see them all the time just walking down. It looks like a street, but there's no street. There's no buildings. There's no trees. There's no nothing. They're just walking, and they're walking to nowhere because there's nowhere to walk. but they stay together so they can stay away from the negative ones because there are horrible negative energies there just trying to draw their energy off of them. That's another reason why you should walk into the light and not stay here, but some of them are just comfortable here. I see old men and women walking around. I see little kids walking around, but they've had many, many lifetimes, and they know that because when you stand up out of your body, you're gonna get all the perfect memories of your lifetime here, plus the perfect memories of all your other 27 lifetimes, and you're gonna know when you look into that light, there's a possibility you might have to come back again. And here's the other reason they don't go. Maybe they don't want to. Because they know lifetimes are hard, but they're not meant to be easy. So they just stay here. Sometimes they're just comfortable here.
Yeah. Have your archangels told you how you will pass from this life, this incarnation, or is it something that doesn't come up?
Oh, I already know when I'm gonna die. I'll be 83 years old. My birthday's in November. I'm gonna die in August on the 3rd week on a Wednesday night. It'll be August 18th, 2049. But I ask that because I ask everything, because I needed to know how much time I have to do this.
Yeah,
How much time I have to complete this task that God wants me to do.
yeah.
Because this is actually my last time here. I'm going home after this finally. After millions of years, finally.
So does that mean anything for
Everybody else, it sure
yes.
does.
Does that mean that's what I was
Yeah,
gonna ask, like, wait, is somebody else taking your job, or does this mean
No.
something?
No, no one else is taking my job. The last page of my book doesn't say the end. It says 2332 because that's the end. That means the end of this place, the end of this world. And then we will start over again because we're not getting it right.
Okay. Do we start over on another planet? Do we start
Yes.
over here? Okay.
No, we'll start over on another planet. We're destroying this world.
Yes.
Yes. We were at another planet. You've heard of it. It's called Mars. We destroyed that place. I mean, they just did a study on Mars where they took a sample of the ground, and there's an element within that sample of the dirt there that only occurs after nuclear explosion.
What was the element? What was it? Do you remember? You might not. I
No,
know it's
I
like,
forget.
we all
Yeah.
read things.
Yeah, I read that too as well, but yeah. Yeah, but, I mean, we destroyed that place. Now
See,
now
I
then
would have
with
thought we destroyed Venus because Venus is totally overheated. It was like the very much the sister planet to Earth. I would have thought we destroyed Venus, but
oh, well, how is
we
Venus
destroyed
so
Mars.
overheated? Yeah, it's further away from the sun than we are. How come we haven't burned up yet? Because a lot of the things that they tell you are
Well, it's
not the truth.
Venus is closer to the sun.
But
It's
in a sense, but even all the other worlds that are out there, how come, they're not how come Mars isn't frozen, but they say Mars is super duper hot?
no atmosphere. Yeah. So,
A lot of things they tell us are just not the truth.
yeah.
They don't want us to know the truth. They don't wanna know that we've been here for a very, 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 very long time. They just don't
So,
want you to know that.
well, but you're saying that people know this.
They want you
There
to
are
think that
people who know this,
yeah,
but do
they
not share it.
right, there are people out there who know that we didn't actually build pyramids. We don't have the technology to do that, but, all the TV shows want you to think that, "Oh, yeah, we built them and we pulled it on ropes and logs and stuff like that."
So lots, but you know what, Daniel, there are a lot of shows about the pyramids now that talk about us not building them,
Correct.
like what you're saying. So
Yeah,
I mean that's
it's not a sarcophagus, that's for sure. It's
it's not
a,
just yeah.
right. Right. Yeah. Now they're actually they're bringing information out because they're now seeing the truth that there's no possible way that we could have. So they have to come up with a better answer. Again, they're still hiding the actual truth from us, but yeah, they don't want us to know everything because if they felt that we knew everything, then they would also know that they don't actually have power and control over us. I mean, if we actually knew that they don't have any control of what flies in and out of our atmosphere, then that would prove right there that they don't have any power and control over us. They can't keep it from coming into the atmosphere. So they are not all powerful as they believe they are.
I was going to say, you kind of touched on it, that there are a lot of people who sort of work in the disclosure area,
Right,
say the same thing. It's like if you realize that it's, a consciousness play, a different dimension, and it's here.
right, right. I mean, if we're all equal, we're all came from the same place, then why do we have disclosure for anything? Why should
Yeah.
we have disclosure for? We should all know. We should all be sharing everything.
Yes.
We would be much more knowledgeable in this world. We wouldn't have the problems that we do. I mean, look what Tesla tried to do. He had that machine that he made that was going to create free energy, and the people who are in control of all the energy didn't want that happening. What they do? They destroyed him.
Yeah, and they took the information. I'm on Long Island now, and they, Shoreham, where he was, they took the whole building down, they took the
Yeah,
documents out. It's, yeah.
everything they took.
Yeah.
Right, and where are the
Biblical.
documents? They're safely away.
Yeah.
I mean, or they talk about what's that thing they call it all the time? Oh, national security. Yeah, no, it's their security. It goes if it goes against their well-being of being in power control, they will call it national security. It's not national security.
Yeah.
It's keeping themselves secure from everyone else, knowing that they have the power and control over everyone else. They don't want us to have it.
Yeah.
That's why we have these people are in these big jobs, and they sit around on their little committees and yell at each other all day long on TV, and we think, "Oh, this guy hates this guy, and this guy hates this guy." And when those cameras turn off, good job today. Yep, good job. Awesome. We fooled them again.
Yeah.
We fooled them again. Don't listen to it. Don't pay
Daniel,
attention to it.
we've been here for an hour, so
Oh,
a little bit
uh-oh.
over an hour. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I did
Oh, I'm
want
okay.
to. Okay. Well, I did want to, if I could, like, ask you, start going through the questions I ask all my guests.
You bet. Fire away, ladies. Fire away.
Final round.
Final round. Uh-oh.
So, what is your idea of a good, well-lived life?
A good, well-lived life is helping those for the sake of helping. That's what I'm. It's okay to enjoy your life. It's okay to go on vacation. It's okay to provide for you and your family, and for and to do wonderful things in this world. But a good life is helping those who can't do anything for themselves, or just helping each other, just for the reason of just because for the common good of us all, and not just for the one.
Mm.
That's what a good life is.
What do you wish you had learned sooner in life?
Um, Nothing. I think, I don't think I need to know everything all of a sudden, all right away.
You think everything
Because
unfolded as it should?
yeah, because if someone were to say to me, "Well, what would you have changed?" I wouldn't have changed anything because everything that I did led me to here. So why change it?
Yeah. Yeah. Most important, where can people find you and the good work you're doing?
Usually on the street corner, just kidding. Or a back alley. They can find me at www.spiritmediumdaniel.com if they want to get a reading with me. I do two types of readings. One reading is just the basic reading of wanting information about your family and friends, or things that you need to do that will help you get through life easier. Or they can also just sit around and talk about spiritual stuff that they want to, because they want answers about things that no one else will give them answers to, because I will give them the answers, because I'm like the bad magician, where I will tell you actually everything that's really going on, and not all the stuff that's people want you to believe in. That's a bunch of false stuff, because you you can't make a negative energy go away by burning sage, because that energy does not have a body, it doesn't have lungs, it doesn't smell, and it doesn't breathe. So the only thing you're going to do at that point is set off your fire alarms. That's all you're going to do. As long as you put the good intentions out, as long as you put positivity out, that will make negative energies go away. No one can clear your home from negative energies. I mean, 9 times out of 10, the people who have the really bad homes that are always haunted, it's the person, because that person has so much negativity in their lives, those negative energies are drawn to it. So that's why they're going to be around. But that's what you do. You clear out your lives. That's how you get the positivity flowing, is by getting rid of all the crap in your lives. So yeah, they can find me there, or they can do the other reading with me, which is I help them to understand who they are and what they are and their abilities, and help them to let them know what they need to do in order to move forward with those abilities. They can also find me on Amazon. I have a book on there called Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My
I
Awakening
will
as a
put a
Spirit
link to
Medium.
that. Yeah, I will
Yeah,
put a link to that on
here it
YouTube,
is.
on my website. Oh, there
There
it
it is, right
is.
there is the man walking into the bright white light. That is me. Yeah, see, that's me on the back. But yeah, and that's a story about how everything happened to me and for me. Plus, it's also got chapter 12 in there called The Basics. It's these 25 channeled messages that were brought to me. Essentially, what God wants us to do to become the better versions of ourselves if we implement these into our lives, and then help other people to do the same thing in turn, which helps us getting closer to fulfilling that purpose so we can go home and stay home because that's the ultimate goal. It's not to come back here and do this all over again. So, yeah, they can find it there at Amazon. They can go into the search bar and put in Daniel Jackson, The New Beginning, My Awakening as a Spirit Medium. I sell the book for $8 on there for a paperback and $6.49 for an ebook. Eventually, we're going to do an audiobook. But I sell it for $8 because I'm not trying to make $1,000,000. I'm trying to help 1,000,000 people. That's what I'm trying to do. I want to get them to also know the basis of this story, even though there's a lot of cool stuff in there. If you're having these kinds of issues, or if you're having any kind of issue in your life, go out and find your people. Go out and find someone else who can help you because there's other people out in this world who have experienced what you are going through or have been through. You're not alone. No one is alone in this world. We have to understand that. We're all in this together. We've always all been in this together. We just have to understand that. I mean, I always tell people all the time, we need to, we all live on the same planet. No one's going anywhere anytime soon, so we better start to get along with each other before we annihilate each other. I
Yeah.
don't want people to feel as though you are alone. You are not alone. You have spiritual guides. You have other people around you who can help you. Go out and find those people. It's pretty simple.
Yeah,
Um,
that I have to say, true. 7 and 8 million, 8 billion people. Sometimes you got to go find your people, though. But
right,
somewhere they
right.
are.
In that book, I had to find my people who were going to help me to develop this, and I did. I found 5 mediums who they put a group together and invited me there, and they helped me to develop this. But they all come to me for answers now because they knew who I talked to. Talking to archangels. So in other words, when I get an answer, people come to me because they want an answer from God. I get the answer. Not everybody likes that answer because some people just don't like the truth. It's not always easy to deal with. So, but yeah, they can find me there on Amazon. They can also find. I have a show called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson. Me. That's how I started. And I know it's goofy, but it's on YouTube. But we're not creating any new shows for that YouTube channel because I've been sought after by a brand new streaming network that's coming out soon. So my face is actually going to be on Roku and Fire TV. But I talk about these types of things, helping people to understand what is real and what is not real, and how to get some experience of clearing your life out in order to live that life that we were just talking about earlier, a good life. And I will help guide them through that, but I will also let them know of the people are out there who are doing this, who are in this business as well, just trying to get your money. Because there are some people out there, I call them the unintuitive, because it's just a business strategy is what it is, and we need to be able to know what that strategy is so we can avoid it all the time. So, but they can find that. They can go on the website now. It hasn't completely gone live yet, but it will soon. And that's at Ethereal TV. That's ETHEREAL TV.net.
Okay.
They can, like any other streaming network, it is you have to pay for the network, like Discovery or anything else. This is a all spiritual network. So even though there are some cooking shows on there as well to help you to get your body cleared out, to get your body more healthy, because that is a huge block as well for everyone. They think they can just get some crystals and some cool tattoos and everything is going to be hunky dory. It's not. You have to do the work, and that work takes a lot of effort. So, but yeah, they can find me on Ethereal TV, and they can subscribe to that, and then you can subscribe to my channel when it does go live, and we will be constantly putting a new show out once a week for that show. Yeah, that's pretty much where they can find me. They can find me on Facebook. I have a Spirit Medium Daniel group, and they can join that. Just go look for Spirit Medium Daniel group, and you can join. But I will let everybody know, just like when I sign up for shows or when I have people on my show, I don't choose it. I look at the name, and if they tell me yes, I'll try to go on that show. Or if they tell me yes, I'll have that person on my show. If they touch me no, I don't have them on my show because they are telling me which ones are the good ones to be on. That's the way I approached you with this as well. So, yeah, anyone who tries to join my group, I will ask that question right away. Does this person have good intentions? And if I get touched no, well, then delete because I don't put up with bullcrap because I follow everything Spirit tells me to do, everything, and anyone can do that. I do it to a point where I'm diabetic, and I'll pick up a pill bottle and I'll look at it, and they touch no. Oh, okay. Put it down. Pick up the next one. No. Oh, okay. Put it down. Pick up the next one. Yes. Oh, okay. I pop it open and take that pill. I follow everything they tell me to do, everything, and people can do that too. They can, but you got to want to. And you have to stick with it. And since doing that, they told me 6 years ago I would never get into another car accident again if I listen, trust, and follow through. And I haven't. I haven't even had a close call. But if they tell me one day, I want to go ride my bike today. No. Well, then I don't go ride my motorcycle.
Mhm.
I listen and trust and follow through with everything they tell me to do.
Were you having trouble, like, on your motorcycle prior to this? Like,
oh yeah,
oh,
I had trouble with everything because I wasn't listening and trusting and following through. Before I found out I was this, in order for me to get answers from people, I have to be here. I have to physically be here. And when I did readings over the weekend at this place in Tucson, I had to be able to get there. In order to get there, I have to listen and trust and follow through so that I am healthy enough so that I am able to get there. But when you don't listen and trust and follow through, does everything go great? No. Everything goes great for me because I listen, trust, and follow through with everything they tell me to do because it's for the betterment of me. It's for the betterment of everyone.
yeah.
So I have to be there to help them. In order to do that, I have to be right. I have to be right with myself.
Do you have any final messages for the audience today?
I have two messages.
Okay.
One I give at the end of my show, but the first one is stop judging each other. When you're walking through the doorway and you see something coming up to you, and you look at them and you say, I don't like their shoes. I don't like what they have on. Before you think about that, think to yourself, take a self inventory of yourself and think of all the crap you've been through because everyone's been through something. We're all going through something. And think about all that crap that you've been through in your entire life, every little detail. And then you look back at that person and then you bite your tongue and you walk away because you have absolutely no right to say anything about them as opposed to you not saying anything that you've done throughout your life. Nobody wants to take a self inventory of everything they've ever done because they think they're right about everything. But no, think again. But my second bit of advice is I tell everybody at the end of my show, be good and don't do any stupid shit. Simple, right?
Don't do stupid.
Yeah. I used to say at the end of that, be good and don't do any stupid shit. But if you do, don't get caught. But yeah, don't do any stupid shit.
Okay. I'll probably bleep that, but I'll leave it in, but it'll get
All right.
bleeped.
Be good and don't do any stupid stuff. How about that?
Thank you so much for being on the Journeying Soul, Daniel. It has been, I appreciate you. It's been fun.
Oh, thank you.
So,
I appreciate you having me on because I'm just one of those people, I guess, throughout podcasting. I'm going to be on some guy's show because he wants me to talk about what it's like being a podcaster. And if I get one listener or 1,000, it's one more that I didn't have. if I can help one person or 1,000 people, yeah, it's one more that I can help. And as long as I'm helping, I know I'm doing the right thing. Maybe people should go with that line of thought instead.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
It's gotta start somewhere.
I did a grief film before this because I had some deaths in my family, and it wasn't a huge film, but, I got it out into the world, had screenings, there was a DVD, and, it really meant something to me when people got a hold of me and let me know that it helped them.
Sure,
It wasn't
sure,
masses, but it was people going through something really tough
sure.
that were able to be helped, and that makes a big difference in keeping everything going, like, so you can keep going, so I can keep going, that
Yep.
kind of yeah.
It's gonna keep going whether you like it or not. The world is still gonna turn no matter how many people die, because millions and billions of people have
Until 20 what year?
2332.
2332.
So the trick to 2332 is I'm not a mathematician, nor am I about numerology, because people created numbers. So, your soul does not live by numbers, as well as your soul does not live by astrology either, because astrology is a bunch of people standing around looking up at the stars going, that makes a fish. No, it doesn't. What about the other gazillion stars? What does it make? Stars, okay? And the beginning calendar was 5 months, and then 9 months, and then 10 months, and then 12 months. So they had 5 signs, and then they created 4 more, and then they created 1 more, and then they created 2 more. So, no, it has nothing to do with you, okay? Um, don't let that little article in the newspaper define what your day is gonna be like. Define it by your choices. That's what your day is gonna be like. But, yeah, it's just there's a lot of malarkey out there, and a lot of things that are just, they want you to believe in because, it's gonna make them a whole bunch of money. But, yeah, don't listen to any of that stuff. Just listen to what's inside of you. Listen before you make any decision in your life, anything big, put your hands on your stomach and ask yourself, "Is this gonna be a good thing for me?" And then listen to it. Listen, trust, and follow through. That's the true advice you really need in this world is listen, trust, and follow through. And when you get that when like we said, I don't feel right about this," then don't do it. "Oh, I feel good about this," then do it. That's your soul guiding you. Listen to that, trust what it's going to tell you, and then follow through with what it's telling you to do. And I promise you, every single time you do it, it's gonna be something that you're gonna go, "Wow, that was cool."
Thanks for watching. Click to join us on another journey, and don't forget to subscribe.